What is going on, everyone? Chris with Journos, Comics, and Pop Culture. And today we are doing a top 10 X-Men keys to invest in before we see them in the MCU. We know it's coming. We know they've been announced. The properties are in the hands of Marvel Studios and Disney. So this is the time to be looking out for some X-Men books. Now, we're going to do this in a two-part video series. And today we're going to be counting down 10 through 6. Before we get into the books, if you aren't subscribed to the channel yet, please take the time to do so. Check out all the awesome links below, including how you can become a Patreon member of the channel for only $3.99 a month, or how you can become a YouTube channel member for only $1.99 a month. Also, check out my official Journos Comics merch link. And of course, if you aren't subscribed to our Comic Book Canon YouTube, that link is below. Click that link. Give us a sub over there. We have a weekly Friday night shows. You are missing out if you are not subbed up and watching. I have to give a big shout out as well to today's sponsor of this video, the Otis app. So what we're going to do is we're going to show off an honorable mention book, and then we're going to take a couple of minutes to talk about our sponsor, the Otis app, and then we're going to get into the countdown of 10 through 6. So what is the honorable mention? It is Uncanny X-Men 283. This is the first full appearance of Bishop and his second cover appearance. Okay, so let me explain why I chose this book as an honorable mention. We know that Uncanny X-Men 282 is on fire right now. It's on fire, especially in those 9.8s. This is, for those that don't know, Bishop's first appearance in Cameo, but it's also his first cover appearance. So you get a rare combination. It's very rare that you'll get a character showing up on the cover for the first time and in the book for the first time, but that first appearance in the book is only a cameo. But because he's on the cover, that book is heavily sought after. This book is blowing up right now because there's been just a lot of talk, a lot of rumor about which X-Men can show up in the MCU due to Bishop being a time traveler. And we know that time traveling is a thing right now. We got the Loki show coming out. It's here in the MCU. We've seen it in Endgame. Hey, people are looking at Bishop. I agree with that. I mean, there's many reasons why I believe Bishop could be an X-Men character that we could see early on in the X-Men franchise within the MCU. Now, the reason why I picked this book is because if you guys know me, I like to look at books that are under the radar. Now, let's look at these numbers, all right? I chose CGC 9.4s for every book on this list because I don't want to focus on 9.8s. You know, everyone isn't got the pocketbooks to go grab 9.8s and everything. And I'm not a stickler, as I've said before, as we have to get a 9.8. No, these other high-grade books or even mid-grade books, if they're older books, in my humble opinion, are great investments as well. So let's look at these numbers. CGC 9.0 fair market value, $55. Average raw sale, $9. This book is flying under the radar. Now, here's the thing. This is your second best thing next to the 282. And I always talk about second best things. We know that when the hot book keeps getting hotter, what's going to follow? People are going to start looking at that next best thing. And if Bishop is announced and 282 blows up even more than what it's going, I believe there was a record sale of over $600 for a 9.8 CGC 282. Start looking at this book because as 282 increases, this book is going to slowly increase as well. But again, as I tell all my viewers, I'm not here to tell you to buy any of this. I'm here to give you facts, data, and of course, a little bit of my personal opinion. And it's up to you all to make a sound decision. If you want to invest in these books, if you want to take the risk to make these purchases, but don't buy it if you have no love, you're not willing to make those risks, you know how I get down. All right, before we get into the top 5, though, the 10 through 6 countdown, we're going to take 2 minutes to talk about today's sponsor, the Otis app. Otis is an alternative investment platform that makes it possible for almost anyone like you and I to invest in shares of cultural assets. You can buy and sell shares of rare and high-priced collectibles, sneakers, art, and yes, you guessed it, comic books. Of course, that's why I'm here. So how it works, guys, it's really easy to use. All you have to do is download the app, from either Apple or the Android Play Store. Sign up for free. You can follow weekly drops. You can buy shares of the latest drops directly from Otis or buy shares from past drops from other Otis members. You can then earn potential return by selling your shares to other Otis members, or if Otis sells the underlying asset, say for example, a comic book that you have, assets in, and at that price at which you bought the shares, if the shares are more valuable, you earn a return. So we're looking at blue chip keys like Giant Size X-Men #1. You could get $29.50 per share for this book. If you go through the details of each item, basically it gives you a history and breakdown of the current market value, high sales, low sales, even just historical reference of what the book means, right? Amazing Spider-Man, $129, $24 a share. You got Tomb of Dracula, #10, the first appearance of Blade, $20 a share. And again, it breaks it down. Recent sales, it gives any, if there's movie spec hype, it'll show recent news. So for, the first appearance of Blade, you got the Blade movie coming out, right? We know that's coming from the MCU. So guys, really, really recommend you guys checking out the Otis app. Again, you can download it for free. And if you guys sign up for Otis with the link that I have in the description below, guys, you could get your first share free. So I want to say again, thank you so much to Otis for sponsoring this video. All right, let's get into this list. Starting off with #10, Uncanny X-Men 256 is the first appearance of Assassin Psylocke. That's right, not the first appearance of Betsy Braddock or even the first US appearance of Psylocke. Nope, this is the first appearance of Assassin Psylocke. Now, I may be biased because I love Psylocke, but I had to put this book on the list. Let's look at these numbers. Very, very affordable. CGC 9.4, fair market value, $44. Average raw sale, $15. Now, I'm going to explain what average raw sale means. Average raw sale is not specific to a grade. It's an average of every raw book that is sold on the market. So you have books that may be skewing this number high or low, but I like to look at it as just a mid-range. You can get this book for some type of grade for around that $15 mark, right? That's best as I can explain it. Take it with a grain of salt. This is a later 80s book, so you might be able to find higher mid grades for the $15, maybe anywhere from fine, maybe fine, very fine for that $15 mark. When you start getting to the near mints, I'm sure it's going to be a little higher than that. But look, a very, very affordable book. I don't think this book has a lot of attention. This is where, not to give spoilers, but Psylocke becomes an assassin for the Mandarin. Now, here's why I have this on the list, okay? First off, I freaking love Psylocke, all right? I think she's a great character in the MCU, and Marvel Studios can do wonders with her. I like what they did with her, Olivia Wilde in the Apocalypse film, but I hated that film, and she was hardly in that movie. So the Fox franchises didn't really do her justice, all right? They didn't flesh her out or anything. There's many ways that they could bring this character in, and similar to the story arc. We do believe that the Mandarin, the real Mandarin, is going to show his face in the MCU. The 10 rings are official. We know that's happening. This character can be introduced before we're even fleshed out, introduced fully to an X-Men team, so to say. There's a lot of possibilities around this book. And look, if you're looking at this book as an investment purpose, okay, first off, beautiful Jim Lee art. Secondly, it's an affordable book where there's not a lot of risk involved. So if you could find this, look, if you could find this for a high grade for under that $20 all day, every day, I'm buying it, but that's just me. So again, if you got love for the character, if you got love for X-Men, or you're willing to take those risks, this is an absolute awesome book. It's a great cover. So I had to throw it on the list. All right, we're moving on to #9. This is Uncanny X-Men #184. This is the first appearance of Forge. Now, again, you all are going to be seeing a trend with a lot of these books, at least these 5 that are on the list today, 10 through 6, is including our, honorable mention. these are very affordable books. I'm not going out. There's a lot of books that I could be talking about that are already hot, that are already catching fire right now, that are already hundreds of dollars, even in more mid grades. So I'm dropping jewels to these books that aren't really being looked at. So with Uncanny X-Men 184, another affordable book, first appearance of Forge. CGC 9.4 fair market value, $46. Average raw sale, $16. So again, Forge as a character, he's a Native American character that it has a bit of a Tony Stark background in the comic book, served in the Vietnam War, and is a bit of a shaman. So there's a couple different things that the MCU can do with them. Whether it's being a shaman and showing off the powers of him being a shaman, bringing in another kind of like Tony Stark brain to an X-Men team next to how Tony Stark was to the Avengers. Although Forge never had the leadership that Tony Stark did. I also believe that Marvel Studios is really going to be trying to diversify their lineup. And when I say diversify, I'm speaking of ethnicity and cultures and backgrounds, but also diversify in terms of seeing characters that we haven't seen before in the Fox films. Kevin Feige himself said that we're going a different route. It's not going to look the same as you got for 20 years with the Fox franchises, right? So that's why I'm looking at Forge to possibly show up in the MCU, maybe even sooner than later. Maybe even not being a predominant character, but at least being there, which of course can still drive the value of this book up some. All right, moving on to number 8. We got Uncanny X-Men number 102, Origin of Storm. All right, so this is an early, all new, all different. These books are hot right now in general with the new team. Now, I know we saw Storm, we saw Halle Berry Storm, and then we saw Storm in the First Class trilogy, which I thought they did a good job. I can't remember the actress's name. Storm, though, is a character that I believe we could see again on an X-Men team sooner than later in the MCU. We know Storm has ties to Wakanda, having a relationship with T'Challa. I don't know if we would really see any of that, especially with Chadwick being gone and T'Challa basically pretty much off the table. But still, there's a lot that they could do with Storm in the MCU that I feel would fit. So we're looking at the origin of Storm because I believe the origin is something that hasn't really been dove into within the Fox films as well. So for this book, you're looking at a CGC 9.4 fair market value of $234. Average raw sale, $94. Looking at this book being a Bronze Age book, probably somewhere around a mid-grade copy, maybe high mid-grade even for that $94 range. Like I said, these books, these early new Team X-Men books have been hot already. So still another one that I think can really be a sleeper when it comes to bringing these characters into the MCU. All right, moving on to number 7. Yes, how can I have this list without this book? Avengers Annual number 10. First appearance of Rogue. All right. This book has been on a couple of my lists over the last couple of years. And it's been gaining in value. I know usually in my videos, I do the analysis where we look at what the book's done 5 years ago I next to today. I know I didn't do that for this video, but take my word for it. This book is finally getting some justice that I think is long overdue. We all know that, Rogue really isn't on the cover. Supposedly that's her in the shadows there, but it's not a very desirable cover. That's definitely hurt the value of this book over the years. But still, Rogue is a great character, and I've said this, I'll say it again. My hunch is that they're going to bring Rogue into the MCU and do her right because we have Carol Danvers. Rogue was done horribly, in my humble opinion, in the Fox films. Horribly. No disrespect to Anna Paquin. I'm not saying that she couldn't play the role. It was just how the character was written. Horrible. So, I feel, and I don't know if it's going to happen with the Marvel's film, the Captain Marvel 2 movie, but I have a feeling that we're going to see Rogue, we're going to see Mystique, come into play with Carol Danvers, and Rogue is going to take Carol Danvers' powers, and we're going to have a true Rogue origin story. So let's look at the numbers for this book. CGC 9.4 fair market value, $317. Average raw value, $126. So again, this book is up. It's getting a little heat under it. But I'm telling you, if we see Rogue in the MCU, I think this book is going to catch absolute fire. I think these prices are going to double, in my humble opinion, once we get an announcement. So, fingers crossed that we see Rogue in the MCU sooner than later. All right, we got one more book today, everyone, in this video. Number 1 out of 2 of the top 10 X-Men books to invest in before they make their MCU debut. And number 6 on my list is Uncanny X-Men number 164, the first appearance of Binary. Okay, so this kind of correlates to what I was just talking about Rogue. For those that don't know about Binary, Binary is an alias that Carol Danvers took on. So this is Carol Danvers. All right, I have a hunch that not only is Rogue going to take the powers of Carol Danvers, but I have a feeling that Monica Rambeau is going to take the mantle of Captain Marvel. Go back to the WandaVision show. Monica was referred to as Captain in almost every single episode in that TV show. I don't think that's for nothing. We know what Marvel does. Marvel drops Easter eggs in the most craziest ways that are just right in our face, and sometimes we never even see them. They're so subtle. I don't think it was by mistake or just meant nothing that Monica Rambeau was called Captain throughout that show. I also don't think it's a mistake that Captain Marvel 2 is going to be called The Marvels, right? I think Monica Rambeau is going to take the mantle of Captain Marvel, all right? And I do think Carol Danvers is going to either, because, and here's my hunch, Rogue's going to show up, take Carol Danvers' power. Something's going to happen to Carol Danvers. Monica Rambeau was going to step up and take the Captain Marvel mantle. And then sometime shortly after that, I think Carol Danvers is going to go full-on Binary. Now, there's been people that argue saying that she's already gone Binary in the MCU. You know, that's when she goes full-on like supernova and, you know, glows and bursts through Thanos' ship and whatnot. But here's the thing. Maybe so in terms of power, but if you understand Binary in the comic books, it wasn't just the power. Carol Danvers went through this whole kind of, cocoon where it changed her, the butterfly coming out of the cocoon. She was no longer Carol Danvers. It changed her on a whole molecular level that she almost rid herself of much of her humanity. So I think her going Binary in the MCU could look a lot more like that. Makes sense? So, I haven't even talked about the numbers here. Let's look at these numbers. CGC 9.4 fair market value sitting at $78. Average raw sales sitting at about 31. Still extremely affordable book. So, again, these are all hunches. Nothing that I said is official when it comes to my hunches when it comes to the MCU. But I'm giving you the numbers. I'm giving you my theories. You all take it as you will. I've been decently accurate over the years through a lot of my assumptions. So, and look, I think the way to look at the MCU is this. A lot of this stuff that is being pulled from the comic books is almost inevitable. It's like, it's only a matter of time before a lot of these characters are seen and before some of these story arcs take place, because there's just so much there, and we know that the MCU is growing and growing and growing. So, regardless if we see any of these things transpire or any of these characters show up in the MCU, I always like to look at books that still are a good bang for your buck. They're still a solid investment regardless. A lot of these books on this list being Bronze Age books, again, slow increases over time for a decent long-term investment. And a lot of them are very, very low risk because they're still affordable. So that's the 5 for today. I can't wait to go over the top five because it does get a lot more juicier and a bit more meat on the bones of the top five. But before I go today, everyone, I got to give a big shout out to all of my members of my channel. First off, to my Patreon members, much gratitude and thanks as always to each and every one of you. I'm just going to run off all of your names. The World's Enemy, Timothy, Ramsey versus Comics, Kenneth, Rich, Tony, Marty, Larry, Serge, Michelle, Jacob, Tyler, Keith, Jeremy, Michael, Jeff, Tricky Clicky, Philly Born, Alvin, Fletch, Joshua, Pedro, Peter, Joe, Larissa, Sagi, Dan, Beechner, and Simon. We're getting more and more, so I appreciate you all. It's getting a longer list, but again, every single day, the support that you guys give me, truly humbled from the bottom of my heart. If you all want to learn on how you can become a Patreon member of the channel and see what kind of perks you get, that link is below. It's only $3.99 a month, but it doesn't stop there. I got to give a big shout out to my YouTube channel members. So if you all want to be, or if you're interested in joining via YouTube membership, that's only $1.99 a month. There's a join button below. You can click that and see what kind of perks you get there as well. So a big shout out to all of you. Rick Curtis, Michael, Jimmy, Goonish Lurker, Josh, Louis Logics, Arthur, Comic Toby, Charlie, Luis, Peter, Blackout Comics, B-Moy, Tony T, and Chris. Thank you all so much. And everyone else just watching the video, thank you all so much for being here. Again, if you aren't subscribed, please take the time to do so. Hit the notification bell so you can be notified when that next countdown 5 through 1 pops up on your feed. And last but not least, again, thank you so much to the Otis app for sponsoring this video today. Thank you all so much for watching. Be well, and until next time.